Hello and welcome to LimeWedgeLoej's Week 15 Playoff Machine Picks. We'll start off with last week's picks where I did not do as well as I hoped because I missed a couple of very key games in the playoff picture, which will completely change the playoff picture, which is to be expected. I did not see the Eagles beating the Bills. The Eagles really pulled one out. In a game that didn't matter, the Browns beat the 49ers. Didn't see that one coming. The Rams beat the Lions. I thought the Lions would win, but the Rams got their running back, so that happened. The Saints were a lot better than the Buccaneers. The Bengals have lost their starting quarterback and fell apart against the Steelers. So with Dalton out, that puts a big damper on everything Bengals. The Jaguars beat the Colts. And when I say they beat the Colts, they made the Colts feel bad, and they should. The Colts just should feel horrible about that. The Chiefs, good solid win. I did not see the Redskins winning on the road. It was a horrible road team versus a horrible home team. And the horrible road team won it. Panthers romped like I hoped they would. Seahawks beat the Ravens like they should. The Broncos decided that they didn't need to come out for the second half and pretty much forfeited the game to the Raiders. Um, Packers did their thing, destroying the Cowboys. Patriots did what we expected against the Texans, and the Giants were managed to pull out against the Dolphins. So I didn't do great, but I didn't do horrible last week. I got about a little over half of them right. Oh, I forgot. I was playing around with the selections earlier. Let's just clear that out. Ignore all that from earlier. Uh, yeah, I was telling myself, Joel, don't forget to clear out your selections, and I forgot to clear out my selections. But anyway, uh, I think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Rams, even though the Rams are going to play a lot better. At this point, it really doesn't matter. The Rams are already eliminated, and they can just finish off the Buccaneers with a win. Not that I think the Buccaneers have any shot to make it anyway. Jets should beat the lowly Cowboys. There is very little way I see the Cowboys putting up a fight unless the Jets just, pull a horrible Jet-like play. The Bears are a better road team. Oh, look how good they are on the road. But the Vikings should bounce back and win this game. The Bears winning wouldn't shock me because this is the NFL. As bad as the Falcons played, you would think they'll bounce back. But with the Jaguars just crushing the Colts, I'm going to give them the edge. This is a game I don't know if either team will win. I'm going to go with the Texans simply because I believe J.J. Watt and Clowney will be able to pretty much tear through the Colts' offensive line, and the Texans' sorry offense will be better than the Colts' sorry offense. The Panthers should beat the Giants unless the Giants, pull some just absolutely amazing junk. And possibly the most lopsided on paper game of the year, the Titans visit New England. New England should put out their backups for this game just simply because that's how big a discrepancy there is there. This one is a very, very big game. This is almost an elimination game for both teams. It is an elimination game for the Bills. Pretty much any game's an elimination game for them at this point. And Redskins. I'm going with the Bills by the skin of their teeth because I believe the Redskins have a better chance of flopping and the Bills have a better chance of being consistent. As much as I hate it for the Ravens, their season is just a complete lost cause. The Seahawks will, drive Johnny Manziel to drink more by just completely giving him the worst day of his career. Packers at the Raiders. This could very well be a trap game for the Packers, but I don't see the Packers pulling a Broncos. I really don't. Last week, I was completely and utterly on the Denver's bandwagon, but second best defense versus the best defense versus the second best offense. I think Steelers are going to win that one. In Pittsburgh, they're a tough team. In another game that doesn't matter, sorry Dolphins, you know, it's nothing personal. This game is now a lot more interesting than it was before. But which which San Francisco team's going to come and play? Is it going to be the San Francisco team that beat the Bears? Or is it going to be the San Francisco team that rolled over and played dead to the Browns? I can't give that one to the 49ers, even if the Bengals are playing with a backup. The Eagles are going to have to pull out some completely insane miracle to beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a lot of people's favorite to win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl, and I completely understand why. We'll give this to the Saints because the Browns, the Lions have been playing like the Lions. Come on, go ahead, do your loading thing. Thank you. That is the longest time it's ever loaded. Let's give it to the Raiders. The Raiders are doing a little bit of something. I The NFC East is so bad. It's just so bad at this point. I'm going to give it to the Eagles. They're at home. They've been playing slightly more consistent. Okay, first of all, for a certain Jets fan who commented on my last video, I'm going to show the Jets some love. The Jets are 5-2 at home. They can, in theory, beat the Patriots. 9th ranked offense, Fitzpatrick's playing extremely well. 5th ranked defense. New England's extremely banged up. This should be a tough and physical game. If there is another game for the Patriots to lose this season, it should be right here against the Jets. Because the Titans, of course, aren't going to touch the Patriots. The Jets will give them a hard fight. And then the Dolphins, I really don't see. The Dolphins will try, but that's about it. I'm going to pick the Patriots, but the Jets have a chance in this game. The Texans should beat the Titans as the Titans are vying for the number 1 pick in the draft to try and, get another player to help build their next season around. Browns should lose another one. I'm going to give this one to the Colts. And just, I'm going to assume Andrew Luck is going to be back by week 16. Either that or they have a head coach who should be able to take care of this mess. He really should be able to turn the season around. But who knows? Who knows with that division? Give it to the Lions because I don't trust the 49ers. Bills get back over 500 with a win against the Cowboys. For all the Cowboys fans who are like, oh, we won one game without Romo. We could now win the division. No. Well, I mean, technically you can, but it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I think I gave this one last week to the Bears. I'm not even sure. I'm going to just give it to the Buccaneers. Go Tampa Bay. You've done well. Not going to make the playoffs, but, hold your head up high. Panthers, this time go into Atlanta for another 38-0 drubbing. Steelers should beat the Ravens, but the Ravens are going to play it a lot closer than they should because it's Steelers-Ravens. You throw all logic and common sense out the window there. I'm going to throw this one to the Saints. They're at home. It's against the Jaguars. Seattle's going to rip into St. Louis. At home, I don't think Green Bay can take them. Number 1 ranked offense, number 4 defense. Yeah, Cardinals. Easy pick there. This is a game. This is another game that could be a coin flip or it could be a blowout. If the Giants want to make the playoffs, they have to win this game and then beat the Eagles in week 17. Because I don't see them beating the Panthers at all. And that also depends on, the Redskins, and this division is just so completely insane. I'm going to say that the Vikings are the better team, so they should win. And now, how the things have changed. It could have been the undefeated Bengals against the undefeated Broncos in a showdown for supremacy. but instead how the mighty have fallen. I believe on this one game in this one situation, the Broncos are the better team than the Bengals, which is bad for the Bengals because they fall down and aren't going to get a first round bye, which if they want Andy Dalton back, they need. All three of these teams desperately, and I mean desperately, need that first round bye. New England is so beaten up, they need a week of rest to get their players together. Peyton Manning is old. He needs an extra week for them old weary bones. They want Andy Dalton to have a chance to come back. They need that first round bye. But only two of the three teams are going to get what they need. Jets and Bills. Another coin flip game. I'm going to just give it to the Jets because they actually would have a chance. I don't know, would they have a chance? No, I think at this point it would be locked up either way for Pittsburgh. But New England takes it. Panthers remain undefeated because it's possible one of the teams stops them, but I believe their biggest test is going to be at the Giants. I don't see Atlanta being able to do anything. I don't see 2 weeks changing anything. And then in Carolina for the last week of the season, the only way Carolina loses is if they rest their players. And I don't see that happening. And then the Saints beat Atlanta. Every team finishes at 500 or better, except the Falcons, who started, 5-0? Only won one game since starting 5-0. It's horribly pitiful. Horribly. Even with all their injuries, Bengals can still take the Ravens. The Texans are at home. I think with this, they've actually already locked it up because even with a loss and the Colts win, they hold the tiebreaker. So the Texans would have it all wrapped up. So I'm still going to give it to both the Texans and the Colts. But the Texans get 9-7, make the playoffs. Chiefs over Raiders. They hold on to the 5 seed. Redskins pick up the win at the Cowboys. At this point, this game does not matter. Win, lose. Eagles take it. So, at that point, the Eagles would probably just rest their starters to get a week off. Then, another game that really doesn't matter. We'll just throw it to the Lions. This game, also with my current predictions, Green Bay wins. Wild card would be a rematch. They would play each other 2 weeks in a row, and whoever won this match, it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of where the second game is. If Minnesota wins, it would be in Minnesota. Green Bay wins, it would be in Green Bay. I'm picking Green Bay to win this game and in a close one. Broncos should beat the Chargers to get their first round bye. In a game that doesn't matter, Arizona's probably going to rest their starters. So I'm going to give it to Seattle. Because even if they lost, it doesn't matter. They would still be there. The only way that this would really change up the matchup is if Arizona plays their starters. The Vikings beat the Packers. Then it would be Packers at Eagles and Seahawks at Vikings. But I don't really see that scenario. It's probably going to be the Seahawks either by just flat out defeating the Cardinals or the Cardinals resting their starters. Because the Seahawks would a lot rather go into Philadelphia than Minnesota. And then in another game that doesn't matter, let's give it to the Rams, which sets up our playoffs. The only difference, I believe, in the playoffs this time is as far as the teams in the playoffs. The Eagles get the playoffs in the NFC East. The Texans get the playoffs in the AFC South. And Pittsburgh gets the second wild card over the Jets, which I did not predict them beating the Bengals. I wouldn't have predicted it, and if I was a betting person, I would have bet on the Bengals. That's how much I didn't see it. Anyway, starting off in the AFC like I always do, I believe that the Steelers would beat the Bengals. Primetime game. If Dalton does play, he wouldn't be healthy. Steelers, that's their game to win. Then the Chiefs at the Texans. Hard fought game. Chiefs have toughed out a lot. Chiefs win. Both division winners go down in the wild card of the AFC, which would mean Pittsburgh at New England and Kansas City at Denver. I'm going to say Peyton Manning has at least one really good game, enough for Denver to beat the Chiefs. Just like that. I know last week I had the Chiefs beating the Broncos. That's how much of a coin flip league this is. Last week I felt slightly more to the Chiefs. This week I feel slightly more to the Broncos. Pittsburgh at New England. I would pick Pittsburgh. As hot as they are playing, New England's beat up. I personally am not a Pittsburgh fan, but I go with the hot hand. Pittsburgh's the hot hand. That would bring up Denver hosting Pittsburgh for the AFC Championship game. This is possibly Peyton Manning's final hurrah. He's had a lot of rest. He's got off an injury. He's going to have enough to get him through this game. So the Broncos go to the Super Bowl. Pittsburgh did a good job turning their season around. Not quite enough. In the NFC, Seattle goes into Philadelphia. You know, Philadelphia probably saved Chip Kelly's job for another season if they get into the playoffs. But Seattle did what they need to do. Minnesota goes into Green Bay. This is another coin flip game. I'm going to say it's hard to beat the same NFL team 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to give it to the Vikings. Not that it really matters, but that would send the Vikings to Carolina and Seattle to Arizona. Arizona, it would be a rematch of the last week of the season, but this time both teams would be playing their starters. I give the edge to Arizona and the edge to Carolina, which would mean Arizona at Carolina for the NFC Championship. As I've said all year, every playoff thing, Arizona has the ability to go into Carolina and win. But until Carolina loses, I'm not picking against them. And that's losing with their starters. If they rest their starters, I still probably won't pick against them. But until they actually lose a game. So that would pit Carolina and Denver in the Super Bowl. In which case, I pick the Panthers to beat the Broncos. That defense would just completely rattle Peyton Manning, getting to him. And we've had history show that Peyton Manning doesn't do well against great defenses in the Super Bowl. Look at Seattle versus Denver. This could very easily be a repeat of that. Newton just runs all day and all night on Denver, and Carolina would breeze through their first Super Bowl. Anyway, as fickle as the NFL is, I'm going to run through a few picks in Week 15 that could completely change the landscape. The Jets lose against Cowboys. I would say they're completely out. If the Bears beat the Vikings, that would change the wild card, especially if Tampa Bay wins, because at that point it would be the 9-7, and Tampa would be an extra victory away from just like upsetting Carolina to get into the playoffs at that point. The Jaguars could be eliminated with a loss. Falcons need a win to stay in the wild card competition. The winner of this game is extremely important to who wins the AFC South. If the Giants upset the Panthers, that's huge for them to win the division. The Bills and the Redskins, very important to their playoff lives. If the Chiefs lose, that's huge. Seattle losing, that's huge. Basically, all these games, with the exception of Miami at San Diego and Detroit at New Orleans, New Orleans losing would pretty much extinguish any shot they had left at the playoffs. So, all of these games have some sort of playoff implication. Anything, me being wrong this week, would throw off my predictions and possibly change everything for next week. So anyway, Stay tuned for the wild ride of the NFL. I am the Great and Mighty LimeWedgeLoej. I hope you enjoyed my predictions. If you agree with them, let me know. If you disagree with them, let me know. If you think I got a couple things wrong along the way, just let me know your disagreements or your agreements, how you feel about my picks. If you think I'm completely wrong, if you have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning the Super Bowl, I'll think you're insane, but hey, it's mathematically possible. Anyone can still win that absolutely horrid division. And remember, my absolute sleeper pick to win the Super Bowl. This is the most sleeper you can get without actually being completely asleep. The Giants. If the Giants get into the playoffs, Tom Coughlin can win it. That's all I have to say with that. Anyway, with that, have an interesting Week 15